The one thing we do need to get answers to, and I'm assuming and I'm hoping that we will, is more of the lore and the world building for the actual bots, right? We know that he's a previous version. I'm assuming all of them have normal human faces under their masks, but the biggest question here is what is considered weird for one of these bots when they're acting a certain way? Was he acting totally weird? Was he acting like a bot kind of would because they're awkward and they're not quote unquote fully acclimated to human life in the first place? The no thing is definitely something that you would think could be weird, but he didn't really clock it majorly. He did notice it,
Mm-hmm.
but he wasn't like, whoa, hey, yo, what are you doing here, bro? I don't know. Like, is the eye contact thing? Is the talking back? Are they supposed to have more like human conversations where they can freely, like the even with the government module control? There's plenty of times where even Mensa's like, "Hey, you can stay," and he like kind of pauses, but he's like, "I'd rather not." Or if he says like "sit," Gura says "sit," like he's a dog or somebody, but sit, and he's like, "I'm good, I'll stand." Is it supposed to be that the first time you say "sit" to them, they're supposed to sit? Or shoot somebody, you're supposed to shoot somebody, like, or is it that they can be like, hey, let's hash this out a little bit, let's talk about it, or is this a
Mm-hmm.
direct order?
So my thoughts on that are that it's not going to be like iRobot, like Will Smith movie, where they just obey
Yeah,
without question. Because you're right, like there's so many red flags already of how the people should have been reacting. I know he's a little bit of an older model, but he's still been refurbished. They still sold it to him. It's not like he's defected from the corporation's point of view. And as soon as he broke out of the government module and he's watching TV and almost got the person killed, he's already having the thoughts, and it's not like he's had time to become weirder and become more human. Just seems like he had that in the back of his head, but he realized he can't disobey the government module, and then if he gets caught, his only concern is not to be burned alive in acid. So I think a lot of this is based on what happens towards, I forget if it's the end of the episode 1 or the beginning of episode 2. They have like biology for them, and he even like is
yeah.
feeling pain at points, and I did not expect that. So I think that's like a key part of it, is they probably have more biology than the typical robot you see in media, and that makes for more compelling TV, because like he was saying, he had to turn his pain receptors off. Like, why would you even have them if
I
that's
mean, he has
not something
blood.
that's like right? Yeah, exactly. And he has organs. He's like, I could cut off the blood circulation. To me, that just is like they're almost like, I don't know, cyberpunk. Yeah, they're like cyborgs almost, but
Yeah.
I don't know. So it's just like an interesting take on them, and I think it makes for more compelling TV because of the limitations and I guess the weird restrictions that biology puts on some people, but they're not fully biological, so it's a little mixed. I think we just need to get more information, and when we get to the other side of the planet and we see the destroyed crew, maybe we'll learn some info when he sees their sec unit, and like, is he going to still be
Well, we
alive?
saw him. No, we saw
Right.
him. He's
Well,
dead
like,
against.
sorry, yeah, he's
Can he
dead, but I
be?
mean,
Yeah,
like,
right.
can you bring him back?
Yeah.
Like, is it
Yeah,
something he
and
can
talk to him.
analyze and like plug into? Like, we're gonna learn a lot in their interaction that's gonna happen, which I'm sure, based on the pacing, is probably gonna be in the first 5 minutes of next episode. But it's a
Yeah.
good thought, and I think that it's gonna be fun for us to explore that.
Because it generally seems pointless for him to look like a human. There's no point.
Yeah.
He has no
Especially if
genitalia.
he's not supposed to show it.
They
Mhm.
even kind of like get into it slightly with when Gura's asking him like, do you have a program about human relation? He mentions, he being Murderbot, that there are bots that are specifically programmed for sexual relations, and just for him it seems wildly inefficient to have skin, to have
Yeah.
blood, to have
Mhm.
vein, like it doesn't really make a ton of sense to me. And maybe I couldn't tell so much at the end of episode 2 of when they gave us that shot of the sec unit that was, let's say, dead for now temporarily.
Mhm.
Of it looked to me like it was purely mechanical, kind of like, is the older units the more like the less efficient units where they actually spent some time making them akin to, let's say, Westworld robots, where
Right.
like they
Right.
actually had skin and stuff. But in reality, the new ones are more focused on not that, it's more like firepower, more like, defensive armoring and things
Mhm.
like
Right.
that. Because I don't know, I could see it maybe also having somewhat of a relation to the memories that he's kind of on the edge of remembering, where he has kind of like the wisps of it. And, we'll learn more about that. Obviously, that seems to be something that's really beating at him, and that's like his biggest secret beyond the fact that he doesn't really listen to the government control anymore. And yeah, I don't know if I have an answer or like a theory about what that is, but I could see there being a relation there between him like being biological, being used in the past as a weapon, and maybe him being like an outdated version. Like all of that seems to be
Hmm.
heavily related to each other.
Can I put the first board guess out there? Because this is
Put it
total
up.
theory, just on the fly from this specific conversation. What if there's going to be like a darker twist? And are we calling them is it Corporation Rim? Is that like is that the name of? I don't know if we even know yet if that's what we should be calling them, because they've said
That
that a
was
couple
tough
times.
because it's in the because when they put it on the title screen of episode 1, Corporation Rim to me felt like it's the Corporation Rim, felt like a place, like Corporation owns the
Right,
rim,
right.
like the area of space. So it
Yeah,
was just named Corporation Rim. But then I feel like they used it later on and it felt more of a proper noun towards like an entity, like a company.
that's
So I
what's
have
making
no
me
idea.
question it. Yeah, but I'll just for now I'll just say like the corporation, whatever. What if there's like a darker twist on it, that the reason there is any type of this biology going on with the robots is that they're in some way like a almost enslaved version of biology that becomes, which would
Love it.
explain the remnants of the human emotions in his head that he's having, or even just like the thoughts like that. I don't know, totally just out there, but maybe
So
there's like a form of like biology that's slavery almost, or like it's just something like that.
Yeah, so you took the words right out of my mouth, actually, Luke. I was going to
Oh
say, I'm
shit.
really happy that Kyle brought up Westworld. I was thinking that the biggest thing here was going to be depending on how dark this show gets. And I'm literally
Mhm.
going to say exactly what you said. If it's Westworld where they're creating this robot that looks humanoid for whatever reason, which would be weird. Kyle has a really good point because these people don't know much about the sec bots or
Sec
the
units.
sec units, but they didn't realize that they had a human face, right?
Mhm.
When he showed his face, they were surprised. So I don't
Mhm.
know if it's common knowledge or not that they would have a human face. That would lead you to believe that they don't show it often. And again, what would the point be? So my idea would have been the same thing, Luke, the dark twist, and we don't know how dark the show is because it's kind of the dramedy. Are they gonna get dark? I don't know. But
Mhm.
could it be that it's like you said, enslavement, or maybe just humans? It could be volunteering, but down on their luck, and they volunteer because they have to, and then they become humanoids, so they live infinitely until their acid death or whatever we want to say. But
Mhm.
it, it's something we're definitely gonna have to find out, and I like that you bring it up, man.
All
yeah,
right, we'll bring that back up.
it doesn't seem like it's a coincidence that, I don't know what the right word is, like it's not like serendipitous. It seems maybe, let's say, purposeful on the author side of things, in that this is all happening to him in the context of his bosses being this hippie commune that has no experience with sec units.
Mhm.
Right.
Like that feels like the right playground for the show to be in, for us to ask these questions, explore these things. It also gives him a little bit of leeway to maybe act slightly out of line, like we're saying, and
And they
those
don't
things. I
realize
thought
it.
it was funny when Mensa was like, "I just think he's going through something," like they see him
Yeah.
as like a person, because I think it was, Gura mentions in episode 2 of the their preservation alliance sees the AI, the constructs, as people,
Yeah.
Mhm.
and like, is that, and this is going to be crackpot. And I love how we opened this with saying like, this show won't be that deep, but like, are they like, is that belief something that like has been passed through time, that like it's stuck with them, but because the original belief, let's say, of the Preservation Alliance was focused on like anti the enslavement of people, like the volunteer program to be augmented humans, that was a slippery slope towards this creation of the sec bots that are kind of humanoids and have lost all autonomy. And then I'm going to dovetail that with, because they talk about like, what could that thing be that we saw in episode 2, that's like that gravitational field that all of
Mhm.
the worms are kind of kamikazing towards. And they mentioned that there's kind of laws around like the ancient aliens and their technology and their synthetics, and it's like, is it the corporation creating like a monopoly on all that information, aka a la One Piece and the world government, of like they're trying to hide the truth of what happened in the past? And this will be hilarious to look back on, and that this show is just straight up a comedy, and we're like injecting all of these thoughts into it. But
I'm thinking the same thing. Like, are we going too deep already? But like, it would be so funny. It would be so funny if it's just none of this.
I agree. I think we'll find out pretty quickly if we're going too deep. I mean, give us 1 or 2 more episodes and we'll get the tone. We'll understand.
Yeah. Like, is that commentary on the, like, you can't dig at the architectural sites for the ancient aliens? Is that just a commentary on modern day things where like you can't, like, you know, historical preservation stop you from changing your home and things like that? Or is it actually speaking to deeper lore in the show? I mean, it could really be either or at this point.
Let me just throw it out there then, just as an open question, since we're here. Like, in either of your opinions, what do you think the likelihood we see like intelligent alien life that are explicitly non-humans are? And if we do, like, is it something where we're so far into the Star Wars level future that they're like already have relationships with humans and stuff, or we're not that deep?
They're acting like this is very, very, very in the future. We obviously know that these monsters exist, for lack of a better term, when we know that they're being called animals by the group. But I don't know. I really don't. Like, we saw the TV show had alien life looking beings in it, but I don't. And when I say the TV show, I mean the show within the show. But I don't know. I don't know. Would aliens, like Star Wars, like having conversations, would that get to be the like too comedy unless you do it right? I don't know.
I have no idea.
Yeah.
I don't know if I want it either. Maybe I do. I don't know. Yeah.
Are we the aliens? Like, are they saying aliens meaning, and that's more along the lines of like Beacon 23 talk, and even some Silo with when you were saying erasing histories, Kyle. Are we the aliens meaning just past humans, and the history was erased, and they don't want the current civilization to understand or to know something about the past?
Yeah. And speaking of like recalibrating expectations, I'm now like really hoping, and I'm probably setting myself up for failure, and this is probably such a funny conversation to listen to as someone who's read the books, but that they're like slow rolling us, and where we get introduced through the kind of quippy opening episodes, and Murderbot's deadpan delivery of things is funny, and it's funny to see the commune's interactions with each other, and we get the contract threesome and all of that stuff, and it makes us laugh, and we're like, oh, okay, this is a fun little 30-minute show, but it actually is kind of like a setup pitch towards the show getting in this deeper dark drama that we felt like we were maybe anticipating. Like, all aspects of it, the 30-minute runtime, like all of it is this elaborate play. And I'm just gonna believe that until it convinces me otherwise.
Yeah, right. Seriously, prove me wrong.